Are you trying to follow a healthy diet to lose weight and maybe reverse some of your metabolic conditions that seem to be getting worse as you get older? Or are you maybe following a healthy diet so that you don't get fat and sick in the first place? Are you one of those many people who finds that as you get older, it almost doesn't seem to matter anymore? You get fat and you get sick, and you're following all the guidelines and doing everything you're supposed to do and trying to follow a healthy, I dread to say the word balanced diet, and yet you're putting on weight and you're developing maybe autoimmune issues or a bit of inflammation or sore joints, and you're told that's just a function of getting older, and your doctors want to put you on medication while you continue to follow this recommended healthy diet. Maybe that diet is wrong. And I'm going to talk in this video about the different ways in which that diet absolutely is wrong, how it's based on, I want to say, knowledge and science that is out of date. It was never science in the first place. Now we have the science, and the knowledge or common knowledge isn't worth anything. Everybody used to know, for example, that the earth was flat until we discovered that, well, it isn't. Okay, so welcome to Shapefixer. I'm Andrew. I'm a nutritionist. I'm in my 60s. I know what it's like. I've been there. I've been overweight. I've had heart rhythm problems. I've had arthritis problems. I've had gout. I don't have any of those problems now because I'm now eating properly. I'm eating the way a human being is designed, adapted, evolved, whatever word you want to use, to eat what is right for your metabolism and your physiology and your anatomy. And the big news flash, it is not a plant-based diet. That is not the way we are supposed to eat. Now, you are going to hear things in this video that are quite likely things you haven't heard before. You might go, oh, that's interesting, or you might go, that sounds like BS. Fine. I can't go into a lot of detail or a lot of science on every single topic because then this video will be way too long. But I have other videos on all these individual things that I touch on in this video, and I will link them all down below here in the show notes. Okay, so if you want to see more about fiber or saturated fat or cholesterol or anti-nutrients in plants, anything like that, please just scroll through the notes underneath. Find the one that interests you or the one that you think sounds like nonsense. Watch that video, and those videos have attachments, links underneath them too, to studies and data and articles in scientific literature and other people's videos so that you can try and understand this. So we will start with sugar. Big surprise there. Not. Sugar is the single biggest issue in our nutrition that is preventing us from being healthy or staying healthy, especially as we age, and triggering so much disease. And I'm talking about obesity, fatty liver disease, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, yes, Alzheimer's. That is known as type 3 diabetes in scientific research circles, so definitely Alzheimer's. Too much sugar, way too much sugar. Now, the amount of sugar that you actually do need is 0. You don't need any. There is no such thing as an essential sugar. There are essential amino acids, which come from proteins. There are essential fatty acids that come from fat. There are essential minerals. Vitamins are all considered essential. Actually, that's not quite true because a couple of vitamins you can make yourself in your own body, but pretty much essential. Carbohydrates, sugars, none. And a carbohydrate is sugar. Now, most people know now, finally, that sugar is not good for you, and they try to cut down sugar, and that seems like something we can understand and accept. But there is still a lot of confusion about what sugar actually is and where we actually find it. And the food companies in particular throw a lot of money at marketing to try and perpetuate this confusion that we all have about carbohydrates, and somehow we think a carbohydrate is not sugar, it's something else. And you've got these different carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates, and they're all different, and we have to have them. BS, it's sugar. Watch the video on sugar that just explains to you basic chemistry what sugar is and what a carbohydrate is. Carbohydrates are sugar, and you don't need any of them. Now, you need energy, and so we've been fed this idea, this myth, that you do need sugar or carbohydrates, which break down into sugar in your system, for energy. But the truth of it is that the only reason we burn sugar is because it's toxic, and your body is doing everything it can to get it the hell out of your blood as quickly as possible. So it burns it. It's like a garbage disposal system. And in the process of burning it, ooh, look at all my energy. I can sprint around the corner. Okay, fine. That's quite convenient, but we don't need it for that. We're actually supposed to be burning fat for energy. So where does sugar come from? And why am I saying that there's an alternative and that we don't need it? Sugar comes from plants. All sugar comes from plants. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get sugar by eating an animal product, because the animals have some sugar in their blood and you'll end up eating that. But the sugar comes from plants. And animals that we eat are usually eating plants. They're getting sugar from there. Sugar is a plant's energy store. Okay? Plants operate on sugar. They do need glucose. That is their energy source so that they can grow and reproduce. And they store energy in the form of sugar. Mostly glucose, some fructose in fruit, but mostly it's glucose, but it's all sugar. So they store sugar. Animals do not store sugar. Animals store fat. That's what your body fat is. That is your energy source. Animals operate off fat. Plants operate off sugar. You can store a little bit of sugar, because if your blood sugar goes above about 5 grams, which is 1 teaspoon of glucose, already it's toxic and your body has to get rid of it. So it shovels it out into your muscles in the form of glycogen, which is waiting to be burned, and it will burn it as soon as possible so that it's gone. That's a store, I guess. And that's about, depending how big you are, it's maybe 4,000 calories of energy when your glycogen stores are completely and utterly full. After that, it has to turn it into fat. Your body turns it into fat and it becomes body fat, because that's where you store your real energy. And you don't even have to be overweight, and you've already got 100,000 calories stored in your body fat that you should be accessible for you to burn. 100,000 calories, not 4,000. So sugar is a very minor part of your energy reserve. The problem with sugar, it's not the problem, it's one of the problems with sugar, is that when you have sugar in your diet and your blood sugar goes up, your body gets rid of it by producing more insulin into your blood, and that insulin rise works as a blocker for burning fat. So you can't anymore. So now you're on a diet, trying to lose weight. You're eating a high carbohydrate diet, 4 meals a day, plus snacks, big breakfast, grains, breakfast cereal, bread, pasta, fruit, all the things you can think of with sugar in them. And your insulin is high all the time, and insulin is a fat storage hormone. How are you going to burn off your body fat? It's impossible. So eat smaller and smaller meals, but the meals are still carbohydrate meals, and you still can't burn the fat. And eventually you're eating so little that you're exhausted all the time, and you're still fat. Okay, sugar is bad news. Sugar is not for us. Sugar is for plants. Fat is for us. So your diet needs to be a low sugar diet. And a low sugar diet means a low carbohydrate diet. So you've got to stay away from things like grains and fruits and plants, in particular plant parts that are fundamental storage organs for the plant's sugar, like a potato. It's where the plant stores its glucose. So you've got to cut all those things out of your diet. So now you're on a ketogenic diet, or a low carbohydrate diet, or a low sugar diet, or whatever you want to call it. That's the start. Now, you need to make sure you eat enough fat. And the fat you get must contain the proper essential fatty acids that you need as a mammal. And those are not the tiny traces of oil that you get from some or other plant now and again in a very small amount. You need to be eating fat. You need to be eating animal fat, butter, red meat, oily fish, chicken with the skin, the fat. That's what you need to be eating. So the myth number 2 is that animal fat, which is called saturated fat. So again, go to my video on fats. It's down here where I explain what saturated fat is and what it actually means. And also articles, research articles that show without any doubt that saturated fat is not bad for you. It does not cause heart disease. In fact, that's cholesterol. Saturated fat, here we go. Here's an article, 2020, 2021, 2025. The American College of Cardiology recommending to heart surgeons that they stop telling people to cut saturated fat. It doesn't cause heart disease. That's a myth. So you're perfectly safe eating saturated fat. And I can hear you already going, but my cholesterol. Well, here's an article about cholesterol. Lowering cholesterol does not lead to increased mortality. And I'm going to link these here to art. I've done videos about cholesterol, what it actually means, when it is a problem, when it isn't a problem. Cholesterol does not drive heart disease. Here's a surprise for you. Having type 2 diabetes is the single biggest risk of heart disease. Being obese, having high blood pressure, smoking, they increase your risk of heart disease by many hundreds of %. Being diabetic increases your risk by over 1,000%. Cholesterol is irrelevant. Go and watch my other videos on that and look at the articles and read it and learn the science. This is how it works. There's no money in telling people to cut out carbohydrates, increase their fat, eat more animal products, stop worrying about cholesterol, don't be afraid of saturated fat. Nobody's making money out of that. People make money out of selling you drugs to lower your cholesterol, out of telling you to eat a plant-based, carbohydrate-based diet because that is what is profitable for the food companies to make. It's easy to manufacture addictive foods with it. It's easy to package. It's easy to store. It lasts for a long time. It's addictive as hell, so you come back for more all the time because sugar is addictive. These are the things they want us to eat. And the drug companies want you to eat that too because then they can medicate you. So, and this isn't some weird conspiracy theory. Nobody's trying to kill you. They're just trying to make money. They're companies. What? That's what companies do. They make money. They sell a product and they're going to sell the thing that makes the most money. So if they make more money out of selling processed sugar addictive foods, well, of course that's what they're going to sell. And then they're going to market it and they're going to do everything they can to make us believe that it's not bad for you. At a minimum. A drug company wants to sell drugs that you depend upon and have to take for a very long time. Hopefully for the rest of your life. That's the perfect. Not a cure. Where's the money in that? You spend hundreds of millions of dollars researching something, come up with a drug that will cure a metabolic disease within a week, and then you don't need it anymore, and now you're healthy. What kind of client are you? You know, that's not what they need. So let's not think for 1 minute that the food companies and the organizations around the food companies and the pharmaceutical companies, including most of the professional bodies that are funded by them and sponsored by them and have their directors on their boards, they're not talking about the new science. And they will not spend money even doing studies into areas where it might come out that there's a better way for us to live and a better way for us to eat, and they stop making money. So You need to look at the independent research and follow the logic of it. So the science is there. We know it doesn't get marketed. It doesn't get spoken about. Your doctors either don't talk about it or quite honestly don't know about it because your doctors have studied with old textbooks. If maybe they were written in 1990 or even before that. These articles that I was, 2016, 2025, 2021, these aren't in the textbooks. They're not learning this stuff. So you need to avoid sugar. You need to be on a low sugar diet, on a ketogenic diet. You need to be on an animal food-based diet. Now, I'm not talking about ethical issues, religious issues, social pressure, belief that it's bad for the environment to eat animal foods. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your chemistry, your biochemistry, and what is natural for you to be eating as a mammal, as a human being. If you need to work that around your beliefs and preferences, then that's your area to deal with. But let me just say, I'm fortunate enough to live in the south of Spain. And when I walk out of my little town here, it is an ocean of olive trees for literally hundreds of miles, with the occasional patch of oak forest in between, but it's mostly just olives. Monoculture. Nothing else lives there. The natural vegetation is gone. All the animals that used to live in the forest are gone. You don't hear a lot of birds. It's dreadful. That can't be good for the environment. So I'm not sure this whole debate about eating animal food is bad for the environment and we've all got to be vegetarians. I'm not so sure about that one. Anyway, I digress. What is wrong with eating plants? If you're going to eat some animal food, okay, you want your fat. You also want protein, and you want the right protein. And there is protein in plants, of course, and everybody will tell you that there's protein in beans, in particular in legumes, soybeans. And that's true, but you need protein because you need to digest that protein and break it down into its individual amino acids, which are the building blocks, so that you can reconstruct your proteins, human proteins. And there are a whole lot of them that you need. And you need all those little building blocks. And because you're an animal, those building blocks are in all animals. So if you were eating meat, you will get all the amino acids you need to build your proteins. If you're only eating plants, you won't. There are some amino acids that are missing. The other issue is you will also be eating a lot of amino acids that you definitely don't need. And that's fine, and most of the time your body will just not use them. But occasionally it will, because they look similar enough, and it confuses your chemistry, and then you start adopting this strange plant amino acid into your proteins, and that sometimes that doesn't matter, and other times that can trigger your immune system, and now you have an autoimmune disease. There is a lot of evidence linking most autoimmune conditions to the presence of an amino acid building block in your protein, so in your cartilage, in your skin, in your tissue somewhere, that is triggering your immune system to fight it because it misidentifies that protein as being an infection. And now I have an autoimmune problem. Plants. People will tell you there are, and I've done a video on autoimmune, that's also down here. People will tell you, well, you need your plants because what about all the vitamins? Yeah, what about them? Tell me which one you cannot get from animal food. There isn't one. You can get all of them. Yes, including vitamin C. Plenty of vitamin C in meat. Not as much as, say, an orange, but you don't need as much as you think. The only reason you think you need a lot of vitamin C is because you do. And the reason you do is because you're eating carbohydrates. You're eating sugar. And sugar and vitamin C compete with each other to get into your cells, and the sugar usually wins. So you need a massive amount of vitamin C to overwhelm the sugar just to get enough vitamin C into the cells so that you're not deficient and you don't end up with scurvy. But if you're not eating sugar, you don't need 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. You need about 40. It's nothing. So you do get enough vitamins from animal products. However, if you were to go the other way and be, say, strictly vegetarian or vegan and avoid animal products altogether and just rely on the plants for the vitamins, then there will be a whole lot that you don't get. Most of the vitamin Bs, especially vitamin B12, and many other minerals that you just will not get from a plant, even if they're in the plant. So spinach is a classic example. Everyone knows, well, most people know, or they've heard, that spinach is high in iron. It is. And now you eat the spinach, and guess what? You don't get much iron because it's in the wrong form. You need heme iron. So you eat animal products and you get iron in a different form. Now your body can use it. The other thing in plants is that in addition to the minerals and the trace elements, the vitamins and things that they might have in them, they have other chemicals in them known as anti-nutrients, and there's a whole list of anti-nutrients, and there's another video down here about anti-nutrients and how they block your absorption of all these vitamins and nutrients that are in the plant. So you can't even absorb them because of the other rubbish chemicals that are in the plants. So if you eat some plants with your predominantly animal-based diet and you don't seem to be suffering from any deficiencies, you're not having autoimmune problems, inflammation, you're not putting on weight, you're not really struggling with anything, maybe it's okay. Fine. But if you are, and you're not feeling perfect, especially when you get older, and you are putting on those few extra pounds that won't go off, and you're getting tired, and you're having brain fog, and you're not sleeping well, and your joints are aching, and all these miserable things that happen to us when we're over 60, sometimes when we're over 50, it could just be that your body has given up trying to tolerate the carbohydrates, it's given up trying to deal with the anti-nutrients in the plants, it's given up from an autoimmune point of view, and you're going to start developing thyroid problems. Try changing your diet. Go on a carnivore diet, or at least go, please, if nothing else, on a ketogenic diet and low sugar diet. Cut these things out and see. That's all you need to do. So you can listen to the advice and you can follow the guidelines as you've been doing for 30 years, and you can do it for another 20 years and carry on being overweight and miserable and feeling sorry for yourself and going on medication. Or you can change it for 3 months. That's not a very long time. Change it for 3 months. Cut out the sugar, cut out the carbohydrates, increase your animal sources, eggs, red meat with fat. And if you can't eat lumps of fat on a steak, have minced meat or sausages or something. Then you don't have to see the fat, okay? Bacon and eggs. Fish, especially oily fish, which is fish from cold oceans, so salmon, sardines, cod. Fantastic stuff. Chicken is pretty good. It's good protein, but it's not very fatty, so try and eat the skin, or just add butter onto your chicken. Put salt on your food. Eat as much salt as you want, because when your body's got enough, you won't like the taste anymore. Your body will tell you when you need salt and when you don't need salt. And as for that whole thing about salt and blood pressure, more BS. Video down here. I think this list down here is getting quite long. Video about salt. You need salt, so just eat salt. So there we've done vitamins, minerals. Here comes the big one, fiber. This is the argument I get the most. What about fiber? How am I going to manage if I don't eat vegetables? I won't be getting any fiber, and then I will get constipation, and my gut won't work, and my microbes are all going to die off, and I'm going to be very, very sick. Well, I used to believe that too. And when I first tried a carnivore diet, it wasn't because I thought it was going to work. I actually have to say I thought it wasn't going to work. I was on a low sugar diet. I was making videos about low carb diets, but I thought this carnivore thing sounded a bit extreme. And eventually I said to my followers right here on YouTube, I said, I'm going to go carnivore for 1 month because I'm tired of people writing comments on my videos going, carnivore, carnivore. So, okay, I'm going to try that. And then I'm going to make another video in a month to say, okay, I did it. this worked, this didn't work, especially my gut. That was 2 years ago. I have not eaten a piece of fruit or a vegetable in 2 years. My gut is absolutely fine. My blood tests are all absolutely fine. I'm doing sport every day still. Yeah, I'm in my 60s, but I'm still running, cycling, going to the gym. I have loads of energy. I eat 2 meals a day. I go to the bathroom probably about twice a week, because I don't need to go more than that, because my food is so nutrient dense, I'm using it all. There's no garbage. Once or twice a week, fine. It's never difficult. I don't have diarrhea, I don't have constipation, I don't have any of these issues, and my gut is fine. And there are studies now on the gut microbiome of people who have been on a carnivore diet for 2 or 3 years, and their microbiome is just as diverse as it would be for people who are still omnivores. It makes no difference. And even the particular species of microbe that digests fiber is still there. It's still there and it's flourishing. And it turns out that they can adapt their diet and they break down peptides from your protein. So, and I've done videos on that too. So please go through the list below here. Any aspect of this that you think is weird, the cholesterol issue, the saturated fat issue, the salt issue, the fiber issue, the carbohydrates for energy issue, any of that stuff, what actually causes or drives heart disease, just go and look down below here and find the one that is going to address the topic that's foremost on your mind, so that you can actually be armed with a bit of knowledge and up-to-date knowledge to help you decide whether you think you need to make some more changes. And I would say to you that if you're struggling with your weight and you're sick and you're on medication and your blood pressure's high and you can't get it down without being on medication all the time, all these medications are addressing the symptoms but not addressing the causes. What's causing you to need a blood thinner? What's causing you to need medication to get your blood pressure down? Why are you injecting yourself with Ozempic to lose weight? Why are you so overweight in the first place? That's where you need to go. That's where we need to look. And that is almost always got to do with what we eat. Now, the reason I say almost always is because there are things like smoking, which are an absolute disaster and going to give you a heart attack. The funny thing about smoking, people think smoking causes lung cancer. Well, it does increase your risk of lung cancer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get lung cancer. And some people get lung cancer without having smoked. It increases your risk of lung cancer. But what it really does, it increases your risk of a heart attack. Way more than lung cancer. So smoking is just a very bad idea all around. But other than that, it's what you consume, and that includes alcohol, sugar, not enough animal food, the wrong proteins, the wrong fat, not enough fat, low fat this, low fat that, low fat everything. You end up sick. And you get fat. That's the weirdest thing. Fat doesn't make you fat. Fat burns. Sugar makes you fat because sugar turns to fat and in the process raises your insulin, which stops you burning the fat. So you can't lose weight when you're eating carbohydrates. That's kind of the whole thing. Boy, that video was not supposed to be this long. I'm going to stop now. Please go and look at the videos that address these individual issues, because you need to understand them in order to make your own decision. And what I would say to you is, if you're not convinced, but you are overweight, you are sick, you are inflamed, you are in pain, you are on medication, and you're getting desperate and you're sick and tired of it, and you've been following recommended diet and it's not working for you, try a ketogenic diet, as much towards the carnivore side as you can, for 3 months. That's all you need to do. Try it and see what happens. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more videos, because I continue to make videos all the time. and I am available. You can contact me through my homepage here on YouTube, or you can go to my website, www.shapefixer.com, and you can message me there. Become a member of the channel. You can go to my website and you can actually make an appointment if you want to, a consultation. We do online consultations, one-on-one, because a lot of the advice you get off all these free videos obviously is very general, and you may have very specific issues. So if you want, I can look at your blood tests, I can talk to you about your history and your background, and we can try and identify maybe some specific areas that need addressing, but that's up to you. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I hope this overall summary video at least helps get the main points into perspective for you. And as I say, please drill down into the detail by watching my other videos. Thank you again.